Hello, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. Hopefully you'll be here soon. We'll just give another couple of minutes to make sure everyone's here, and then we'll get started. Okay, we're going to get started. Just excuse my little thing here. I'm very good at getting distracted. Welcome everybody to Identify Your USP. Really glad to see you here and looking forward to doing this with you today. I'm going to start with sharing a screen. Now, just so you know, if you've not been here before or tried a Google Hangout before, I am myself learning, so I'm just, hang on, let me just sort this out. I don't know why I've got the screen on here. Excuse me, just while I try and move it off. Let me just move it to the side. Fantastic. I think I actually just need to take that off again. So what we just flying everywhere. So I'm going to actually move us to a PowerPoint so that you can see it, and we'll get started. What I've got for you is some notes here, which is a workbook to work through your Identify Your USP at the end of this. So please feel free, if you've got my email or my cell phone, you're very welcome to text through questions as they come up, and I'll make sure we attend to them during the session. But we're going to get started and have a look at the PowerPoint that I've presented, and I'm going to talk you through it as we go. So welcome everybody, and we're going to get started. So I'm just going to work this out. Right, so we're going to start with this. Identifying our USP. And the reason that I wanted to set this up and do this is because what was happening was so many people were struggling with, when I would consult and talk to people, so many people would struggle with how they were going to identify what was special and unique about them. And my personal philosophy is never to be scared of competition. the more competition we have, the more opportunity we have then to identify to our people, the people that we want to target, exactly what makes us special. So that was why I really wanted to do this. And I found that we were having people coming along to training, and when I was working with clients through Identify and through my own consulting, as well as working with a bit with the marketing company, doing training for them, I'd find that people would come time and time again, and they would always have the same issue. I'd ask them what their USP was, and there'd normally be a sort of a sheepish grin and I'm kind of working on it. And it would be the same month in, month out, year in, year out. So I wanted to develop this to help people do that. Now, the reason that we need to do have a good USP is we need to be able to cut through. So if you just excuse me, I'm just going to make sure I can work out how to move you to the next screen. Here we go. So we need to have a cut through. So the reason we need to do that is that people receive over marketing messages. And what I mean by that is that from the moment we step up, get out of our bed, the moment we start, and when we walk out into the street, get into our car, we're bombarded with a whole lot of marketing messages, most of which we never even notice, and ones that we don't ever, not aware of. And what happens is, oh, sorry, thank you. Apparently I'm on YouTube, not in Google+. So anyway, thank you very much for that, Craig. So one of the things that we discover with it is that people will often be bombarded with those marketing messages over and over again, and yours needs to be able to be cut through. And most people can really only understand and accept around 4 marketing messages a day. So yours needs to be really strong to cut through and stand out amongst everybody else. The other reason why we need to have a really good USP is it helps to define our goals. It helps to determine where we're going to put our energy, where we're going to put our time, and where we're going to put our money, because it means that we know who we're targeting and why we're targeting them and what the benefit is. So we understand not just our message, but how we deliver that message to the market. And the third reason that we really need to get that USP nailed is, in the end, everyone's only concerned about how you or their product is going to help them. And if you don't do a really good USP and help them understand that from the moment they hear about your product, it makes it really, really hard for them to understand what's in it for them. And they're just going to move to a company that is doing it better than you are. So that's basically the reason we want to make sure that we're going to be doing that. Now, there are 4 no-go areas when we're looking at USP. The first one is, and so we've got this little picture here. The first one that's a problem is that often we're saying the same thing as all our competitors. I often find this happens a lot in provincial areas in particular, and really anywhere that's not a large city, when companies are saying things like locally owned and operated, family type business, the long-term, longer-standing business, all those sort of things. If everybody's saying the same message, you just get lost and everyone just thinks you're the same. You want to make sure that everyone who are coming to see you can immediately see that you're different to the next person. Even if the offering is pretty much the same, it's the way we communicate it. So you want to stand out and not be just in a line of fishing. I'm a fisher person, so I like using the fish to do that. The other thing that you want to be looking at when you're looking at your USP is you want to be looking at whether your competitors are actually doing it better. If your competitors are doing it better than you, you should never, ever try and shout out louder than they are. Because the minute you do that and they're better at you than doing it, they're going to end up being the one that gets heard and noticed, and you're just going to get completely downgraded. Having said that, there is a little clause in here that I think is really important. And that is, sometimes our competitors will not be saying what they're good at very well, and you can temporarily own that until they catch up. So sometimes there are times with our USP that we can actually create this ability to find this unique course or language towards the person that we're actually trying to target. And it may be that our competitors are doing it better. They've just never communicated it to their clients. So that might be another option. The third reason is if it's a hopeful goal. Your USP, your unique selling proposition, needs to be about what you can deliver today. It is not about this big dream vision idea where you're thinking, maybe if I do this and say this is what we're good at, hopefully we're going to be like that. It's not a cross your fingers and hope that maybe something's going to come out of it. It's going to be great. It's what you truly can do is what we really want to be focusing on. So please don't make it an aspirational goal. It needs to be one you can truly deliver and one you can consistently deliver so people build trust and know that what you say is what you do. And the fourth reason is if it's not something your target market needs, don't tell them about it. I'd also add into this, if it's something your target market needs and you hate doing, don't tell them about it. So often I talk to businesses and they talk to me about the work they're doing and they've lost their enjoyment, but it's because they're focusing on things that they really, really don't enjoy doing simply because their target market is asking them to do those things. And they're not doing. When you look at their marketing mix split into telling people about those things over and over again and not focusing on the things that they actually are really good at and they really love doing. So when you're looking at what you're focusing your target on, it has to be both something that you get a great deal of satisfaction from, something you're good at, and most importantly, something your target market's going to buy. Because if they're not going to buy it, there's no point telling everyone how amazing you are at it. You'll have fun, but you'll be pretty poor. All right, so once we've done that and we've had a look at those things, and I've got a little sheet here for you, as I said at the beginning, which has all the information on here for you to work through and to do that together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to preen ourselves a little bit, and we're going to decide and write down all the things we're good at. Now, New Zealanders as a whole aren't very good at this side of things. We struggle with identifying what's really good about ourselves because we worry that we're showing off. But actually, true humility is about standing really firm in the things you're good at and standing with it with confidence. So look at your strengths. So think about all your strengths. Think about what your business does well, what you personally do well, what your team does well, what the environment that you're in, what the benefits of those things are. Anything about your product, your service, your team, your business, your structure, all those sort of things, you need to be focusing on that. And of course, we need to be focusing on the end user. I heard a great story yesterday about in New Zealand before they became considered really the world's best airline. And what happened was the guy that came over, I'm terrible with details like names, but the guy that took over, the CEO from there, he basically got everyone together. They were losing a lot of market share. They had a really bad name in the marketplace. And he gathered all the managers over a series of months into hotels, and they would do this big sort of hookup, a little bit similar to what we're doing today, but probably far more high tech and amazing. And what they did is they went and asked all of them, what business are we in? And nearly every single person reported, well, we're in the travel business. We're in putting people on planes and moving them. We're in the plane business. And what this guy did is he said, that's not what we should be saying we're good at. He said, we're in the people industry. We should be saying we help people go places, not we help planes go places. So what they had to do, obviously, is a lot of culture and change because they didn't want to make it an aspirational goal. But we have to think about not only what we're good at, but how that might be benefiting the person that's going to be using our product or service. So make a big pile. So you've got in your notes, you've got a big page that I want you to fill. And sometimes another thing you can do is to look at your weaknesses and see, is there an other side of that that is a strength? So if you find it hard to discover what you're good at, make a list of your weaknesses and say, what would be the reverse of that or the opposite of that? Because that generally would be your strength. Another thing you can do here is ask friends, ask colleagues, ask clients what they think you're good at too, because that will make a big difference and help you. So you're going to do that. That might take a little bit of time, and so you've got a nice big page to do that. The next thing you're going to do is one of my least favorite parts, analysis. I hate analysis. I know it's powerful and I love it for that, but I find it incredibly stressful. And in this particular situation, we're going to be looking at your competitors. Now, in launching Identify, I actually had to do this myself. And I love creating. I love coming up with concepts. But when you're looking at a competitor and you start looking at all the things they can do, it's really easy to start second-guessing yourself, to start feel bad, especially if they've done a good job of saying what they do. And so this initial thing of doing competitor analysis does not feel good at all. It feels very unpleasant. It feels very uncomfortable. And so you don't want to feel like you're doing something. It's not a pleasant activity. So steel yourself. Make sure you've had a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and sit down to do it. And truly the best way to do this is to actually look at people's websites. If they don't have a website and you do, then you've suddenly got a point of difference. So I wouldn't worry about that too much, but do look at your competitors. If you're regionally based or based in a particular area, I suggest you also look at your competitors throughout the country, simply because what happens when we do that is we start to see and can not steal, but enhance the ideas they already have for our own website if our competitors locally aren't sharing those. So do take some time to do good analysis. I discovered when I was doing mine, it helped me refine my target market. It helped me work out what messages people weren't saying that I wanted to say, and it also helped me work out phrases that people would identify with and feel comfortable with, using them in my own website, my own marketing material, and eventually through my USP. So I want you to be able to list your main competitors. If you don't know who they are, put some keywords in and find who they are. But once you've done that, I want you to go back to your strengths page. So you've got that in there. And this is in the notes, tells you exactly how to do this. And with the websites in front of you, you're going to get a big pen and you're going to cross out every time a competitor really highlights one of the strengths that you put on your list. So this can be a little bit devastating. It can feel a bit hard. Hopefully, by the end of doing that, there's going to be a couple things that they didn't mention. If they haven't, if that has taken every single special thing about you and they're all doing it better, your challenge after that is to find other things that are perhaps unsaid. For example, a client I worked with, a builder, one of the things that he's got in his USP is less stress. Now, building is quite a stressful process, and he was confident that he could make it an easy, beneficial, relatively painless experience for his clients. But one of the reasons that that was a really beneficial one is that none of the other competitors, a lot of them that have been going for a long period of time, had actually said anything about stress. So it meant immediately when people hear that in his USP, even though none of them had mentioned it, and so he hadn't actually even put it in his original brainstorm when he was working out what he was doing, because no one else was mentioning something that everyone probably just took for granted. Yeah, we'll make it easier for you, we'll make it simpler, and all those sort of things, we'll keep you informed. No one had mentioned that specific term. It meant he had suddenly got a point of difference that he'd be able to use in his USP. So this is a really beneficial exercise. It's not a pleasant exercise, but it's a very beneficial one, and it's really important because the last thing you want to do is come out and release your marketing material, your USP, and discover that a client, a competitor, or even a big client has got a similar one to you. So it's really important to think about how that works really well. And a lot of this would be a little bit of bounce back too. So while we're doing this, you'll be asking people what their responses are and making them hear and see what you're saying. Is it relevant? Does it feel like it fits with you? And people will very quickly say to you whether it does or it doesn't. So I want you to do that. So check through your strengths and find that, and that's your point of difference, which is part of your USP. Once we've done that, so now we've looked and had a look at what makes us strong, and then we've gone and seen what makes us different. Now we're going to have a look at who's going to be using us. So when we're doing that, we need to have a look at who our target market is. So here I've got an example of a target market here. So here's somebody, and you want to drill it down really, really well. I have found this particularly useful this week. I sat down and worked out exactly who my target market was. I've worked out pretty much an image of what that person looks like, what their lifestyle's like, how old they are, what gender they will tend to be. I've worked out all those things about them. And what's been really useful as I've been looking at my website and developing my website is that when I've gone to ask other people to give me feedback on it, and they've said, who's this targeted to? I've been able to say, this particular person, this is what they're like. And immediately they can say to me, I don't think the pictures are right. That photo's not right. It wouldn't meet the target market. I don't think that phrase here is something that target market would meet. I think this bit here, that was fantastic. That's immediately going to appeal to that target market. So it's really important to know exactly who you're identifying with. I always get frustrated with businesses who say, anyone that uses me is my target market. Because when we have that, it's almost impossible to market to those unless you've got a budget of McDonald's. Who doesn't do that for their target market? One of the things I've discovered as someone who is now over 40 and with children that are older and perhaps with a bit more disposable income, I miss complete McDonald's promotions because I'm no longer their target market. They're not even on my radar. I don't notice them. Even large organizations know how to get their target market right down, drilled down to the people that they need to be targeting. And if we don't do that stage, it makes it very difficult to work out how we're going to get the language right when we're talking to those people. So what you're going to do, and it's on page 4 of your notes when you get them, is you're going to have a look at seeing who your target market is, and you're going to get it as important, as specific as possible. Now, it might be the same as your competitors, but you may target a slightly different section of it. Or it might be your strengths are the same as your competitors, but you're targeting a different market, so the message of how you display those strengths is going to be different. So I'm going to have a look at a few things. I'm going to look at what they look like. Now, I've given the option of those of you that are visual, you can draw a picture of those people. So you can draw them, you can explain them, you can talk about the attributes, make it as specific as possible. So if we look at here, this person here, I am 28 years old. So this is a Generation Y. That means that one of two things. If they're a good Generation Y, or if they're a bad Generation Y, it means they're very self-reliant. So they don't like being told what to do too much. They want to feel like they've got a partnership with you. If they're a bad Generation Y, they're not great at self-management skills. So anything that you make me do and have to fill in a whole lot of pages is not going to appeal to me if I'm a Generation Y. If they're a good Generation Y, they like to be able to feel like they're part of the whole process and feel involved in it. So it's quite a different target market. And they want to actually feel like they're engaged with you on a personal level. Whereas people in my generation, Generation X, doesn't have that same criteria of need to personally engage as much. Live with my partner. So now we've discovered what type of Generation Y they are. They're someone who settles. They're in that tribe of being settled, but they haven't got any children yet. So they're not in that place where you can use family, a strong family values way to pull them in. That's not going to attract them. So that's not going to be important. They love tech. So if they love tech, they're going to be wanting to use websites. They're going to be using their phone mainly to find information, and they want to have online options of ways that they're going to find things. So you need to be able to putting that into the offering and offering solutions that's going to help that process better is really important. Says that he spends his time outside. So this is actually, I'm going to say it's a he. So it spends his time outside. So it's someone that likes being active. So that would say to me with these other things that they like making decisions quickly and they don't want to be stuck inside having to do lots of process. So it's on the go outside with their tech. They hate shopping, so they want to make it as easy as possible. You want to make it something that's automated and simple, and they earn a little bit above the average wage in New Zealand. So if I put those things together, and with that, with the no children and with the partner, so they've got less living costs, what I would say is if I had this ideal business for this particular target market, would probably be something like there was a cool business a few years ago, which was you basically every 3 months they would send guys new underwear, new socks, and it was automated. So you just joined up, and every 3 months or so they just sent you new underwear, new socks, and it would just be this ongoing thing. This is the kind of thing that this target market would appeal to. So knowing your target market makes it much easier to work out where you put your communication, but also how you make the conversation, the initial appeal, appropriate. It's kind of like, to use a dating analogy, it's kind of like if you were going to have this as your target market. I wouldn't, obviously, but if you were going to have this as your target market, what would you wear and where would you go to find those people? So it would be kind of that sort of idea. Okay, so you're going to do that and focus on that and develop that. You're going to look at what motivates them, and you're also going to look at what criteria they might use to choose to buy. So it might be they want to have a relationship, they want to make it easy, they just want to be able to feel like they're autonomous. Whatever it is, you want to find the easiest way to make it for them to be able to buy from you. Once we've got that target market, we're going to do a little bit of this. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm just going to fix it for you. I've lost it. Hang on. I've lost my little list. Here we go. Oh, I'm just going to have to go back and find it for a second. It's just lost. We're going. We'll talk you through it, and while that's going on, and we will find it for you. So what we're going to do next is we're going to have a look at how to meet their needs, because that's really important when we're talking about our target market, and it's really important because we want to make sure that they are hearing our message the very best possible way to do that. So I'm just going to get my screen back again. Somewhere here. Here we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is you need to go back over your list and you look at your target market. Today, awesome. We're going to go over that list and we're going to look at your target market. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a think about the things you don't do well, because it's really important to make sure that you're not telling everybody about those things. For example, I know that generally, depending on my ability with technology, I know generally I'm really good at keeping people motivated and focused, especially when I'm in a room, and I know that I'm a really good people reader. I'm not so great at fine detail. For example, filling out a weekly timesheet, filling out a spreadsheet, entering in a CRM, those sort of things just make me want to curl up and die. So if I was going to be putting myself out there and talking to clients about what I was good at, there is no way I'd offer to do those things for them. One of the things I used to make a mistake of when I was training with people is I'd take notes for them. And I'd be all motivated and I loved working with them. And then I'd say, I'm going to type these notes up for you and I'll give them back to you. And then the emails would start. Rachel, haven't heard from you. Where are the notes? Hey, I really need to have those notes. What's happening? Could you just photocopy the notes? Look, why don't I get someone to come and pick them up from you? I am not good at that area. And it was very tempting when you're working with a client to over-deliver in the areas you're not good at and make it part of who you are. Stick to what you're good at. Let other people do the things that you're not so good at and do it. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on delivering those things, and you don't want to make a noise around those things you're not so good at. So we want to have a look at what makes you special. So we look at your unique strengths. We talked about that before. And then we think about what the clients like most about you. And a really easy thing to do when we're looking at what clients like most about you is to ask them. I have found this to be especially effective coming into doing a new business, but even with existing businesses, or especially with existing businesses, when they've got a relationship with you, they know why they picked you. And they'll read things and it won't resonate with them. Or you say something about yourself and they go, that means nothing to me. Find out what they say. If you've gone and outsourced your marketing strategy to somebody else and they've come back with this beautiful USP, before you take it to market, go and take it to your top 10 or 20 clients and say, what does this say about me? Can you see me in this? And if they can't see you in it, dump it and start again. It has to be something that people resonate. For me, I know that part of what has helped me is I've tried to explain what I do. People who have known me well, have given me immediate feedback with, yep, that fits, or I can't see that. That phrase doesn't fit with you. This phrase feels better. And it makes me feel like I'm actually getting them to give me feedback around how I talk about what I'm going to be doing. And we can do that as well. Listen to what people say. They will make it, people who you trust say, they will make it easier for you to work out specifically what you're doing. So you write down your unique strengths and you write down the things clients make about you. And this starts to shape our unique selling proposition, our USP. It's a really awesome thing to do. And it's not as scary as the guy with the board makes it out to be. Hopefully, by develop this, a USP that stands out amongst everybody else and makes everyone else feel special. To do this, we need to be able to have something that really defines us and stands out from the crowd. It's really important during this time, and it's hard. Believe me, I know how hard it is to do this, to not make it too jargon related and still make it very much related to your business. Don't make it too generic. I was working with a client recently and we're looking at their competitors' databases. And he's an engineering firm, and we were looking at other engineering firms. And one of them had something like satisfaction always or something. Well, it doesn't actually mean anything. Even though it's a really good thing to say, it doesn't relate to the business. Yes, sure, they might be delivering satisfaction every time, but it doesn't really fit or resonate with the brand. It has to be something that relates specifically to what you do, because pretty much most businesses hopefully would provide always satisfaction. And actually being able to use that across a whole range of businesses means it really is a watered down thing. It's like family owned and operated. It's that same sort of thing of, sure, great, but what does that mean for me? How does that benefit me? And what makes you stand out amongst all the other businesses who tell me that they're going to be satisfied? I'm going to be satisfied if I use them. So try and make it really specific, drill it right down and make it specific about your business. So what we're going to do is, when we get to this stage, we want to think about how we're going to make it sound good. And at this point, I would recommend, if you can, to actually find someone else who's great with words with you, because this is the area where a good USP can really cut through. You've done a lot of the work yourself. You've thought about all the things that you're good at, the things that are effective. And now what we want to be doing is thinking, what makes us special in a way that people hear it? So ask lots of people, collect a whole lot of ideas, and then think about how you're going to make it sound good. If you're going to do it yourself, and that's a great idea if you feel you've got the talent, or even at least start with, I'm going to give you 5 principles, 5 simple principles that will help you develop that to make it sound a little bit better. These are in your notes. The first one is, you need to think about what's in it for the reader. What makes them want to use you? What makes them think that you're special? So that's really important. They don't care if you've been in business since 1853, because we're now in 2015 and they actually just want to know, can you do the job today? Not, were you doing the job in 1853? So that's important. What's in it for the reader? Use lots of power words. Power words are our verbs, things like drive, believe, do, become. All those sort of words make us feel really strong and powerful. So use power words at the beginning or somewhere in the USP to make you feel really great. And using the word you or your or my or whatever those, my probably wouldn't be so good, but you or your, those sort of words, or we can do this for you, those sort of words, putting that the person in it can actually make it much easier. So we start with a we statement, but we turn it into a you statement at the end of it. It's easier to start with we's than you, because we're all about what's in it for us as opposed to what's in it for the end user. So, but we want to end up with something with that's got a reference to a you statement. So using power words. The other thing you want to do is test out how easily it rolls off the tongue. If you can't say it confidently, and you can't say it with enjoyment, and you can't say it easily, it's the wrong one for you and your business. So think about how you can make that roll off the tongue and make it feel simple, and use it very carefully. Practice it. Practice it in front of the mirror. Read it out. I've got an example here. It's probably a little bit inappropriate, but how surprising for me. But there's a good example of this, and I'm not going to put it in your notes, but if you want to write down this yourself, big PR company a few years ago were releasing Susan Boyle's album. And so they created a hashtag, which was Susan Album Party. Now, if you draw all those words together and don't leave a gap, so you write those down, Susan Album Party, and then we take the first word, which is the nickname for Susan, so Suze, and then you've got, instead of album, it becomes a different word, and then bum, and then party, and that's what people read. They didn't read the story, Susan Album Party, they read the other one instead. So we need to be careful that when we're writing things down and looking at them, what does it look like to the client? How else could they read that? Test it out, show people, could this be read in the wrong way? Some people play on it, obviously, and they're a bit quirky and they take risks, but that's only going to work with a certain demographic or a certain target market. It's certainly not going to work with everybody. So think about how you sound it and what it sounds like, and check with someone. Could you see anything inappropriate in this statement? Is there anything here people might read in the wrong way? You need to ask those questions, because even though it might be great if people tease about it, if that's going to be your USP and it's on your business cards, your website, and you're telling people about it, you want it to have something that's reasonably pleasant and okay. So that's really important. The other thing you want to make sure is doesn't mean anything. A bunch of words that come off the tongue easily but doesn't say anything is just a bunch of words. And I'm struggling with this myself at the moment. It's very easy to slip in jargon. When you look at other people's competitors' websites, you realize how many of them are full of jargon. And when you're reading lots of those, it's very easy to make them part of what you do as well. So you want to make sure that you're doing as little jargon as possible and you make it very simple to do. So that's important. And then the fifth one is, can you live up to it? We talked about this right at the beginning. Can you live up to what you're saying? Is it aspirational? Is it inspirational? Is it relevant? If it's aspirational, it shouldn't be a USP. Perhaps it's your USP in 6 months or 12 months. It's what we can deliver today, and it has to be consistent delivery because you're standing by it. This is the flagship statement that you can guarantee will be the experience of the person that relates to you. So it's very important that we get this right. Play around with it, come with some options. And once you've got a couple of them, I would choose maybe 2 or 3, start asking other people what they think. Find out from them, say, hey, this is what I think makes us different. Do you agree? Ask your clients, your top clients. Ask people who know you really well. And they'll very quickly say, yes, that's exactly, or I wouldn't exactly say that, or no way, that's nothing to do with what you do. This is what I think you do. Because quite often what we think is our concept of who we are and what we do and what our business does is not actually what we do. For example, if you're in the travel industry or if you're in the transport industry or you're in any of those sort of things where you're creating a service, are you in the transport agency or are you in the people agency? Who's the end user? Is it another truck? Is it a car? Is it a plane? Or is it the person that's ordering something on the other side and wants it there on time or sending something away? So changing our way that we talk about what we do can make a huge difference to how we actually create that USP. Then what we want to do is if it doesn't work, if all of that has failed, I strongly suggest you hire someone. And of course in my notes I've put like me, but you use someone, hire someone who's going to help you develop a better sign or ability to get that USP right. It's such an important thing to do. And I know that Craig, who's listening now, he knows the story, but I do this for a job for people all the time. And so I felt that when I was coming to name my own business, I would find this very easy. And I wanted to be able to do, have something that really meant a lot about who I was and identify, I guess, what was special about what I could deliver to clients. So I spent a long time, I took a whole week pretty much off work and I just thought about how I was going to market, brand and create what I wanted to do. And so I'm thinking about it and doing it, and I came up with a name. I think it was Resonate, and I was really proud of it. And I brought it home. I finally thought, I've had a breakthrough. Brought it home, came and said to my partner, I'm really excited, I found my name. Told him, and he went, I hate it. I don't think it's right. And then he paused for a few moments and he said, what about Identify? And immediately I felt like it was the right one. Ironically, it resonated inside me. But what I really realized from that was that we all need external eyes, external help. Whether you use a paid person like me or you use external other people to hear your voices, you need to have that to find the right answer. You can't rely just on yourself for this, because you will end up doing something that's either simply aspirational or the other side is something that downplays all that you can be. So you want to have someone that really, really helps you do it. So making it sound good is a very important part of it. Once you've done that, the next thing to do is you need to put it everywhere. You need to tell everybody about it. And I think this is one of the most important things, is you need to make sure, oops, I'm just going to put it back again. I know why I did that. Hang on, I'll just fix it. I think it's there. So you need to tell everybody about it. It's really important. I'm just going to try and fix this for you because it's just annoying me. So you need to be able to find an ability to actually let everyone know. So put it everywhere. Tell people it. Some people ask you, what do you do? Say to them, well, whatever the thing is. So you'll feel better. You through, I don't know, whatever it is. You create amazing experiences for under 12-year-olds. You deliver the finest chocolates in New Zealand. Whatever the thing is that you do really well, you tell everybody about. You let everybody know about it. You put it on your business cards. You put it on your website. You put it on your marketing material. You teach your entire team that that is what makes you special, and you tell them all, you teach them all to say what they should be saying about you in the marketplace. You sit down and you tell all your clients, you go over and say, look, we've just developed our USP. We're just going to go over it with you again, just to make sure you and I are both on the same page of what we deliver. And then you teach them what the key points of that USP are, so then they can pass it on to other people. You tell everyone you know about it. It's a really important thing. So I want you to be able to write your USP in there. Oops, I'm just almost, just move this here. Technology is a wonderful thing. So we've actually come to the teaching part of the webinar. And if you've got any questions, you're very welcome to email me or put them down on here. But thank you so much for coming. It is a shorter period that I said because I want to make sure that I've got time here for information. If you want help developing your USP or another part of your business, obviously I would love to talk with you. And I also would love to, if I'm not the right person for you, I'd also love to help you find the right person, because I really believe that we all have different talents and gifts, and we tend to resonate or identify with the people that we feel most connected to and feel they understand us. So I'm always into making sure that there's the right match with clients, because I think that's a very important thing. So those are basically, that's the basic thing. If there's any questions, you're very welcome to ask. I'm just having a check. Awesome. Okay, so if you do have any questions, you're very welcome to ask. I'm quite happy to stay on here. The way this works is you can actually ask questions here online, or if you're not online, you can actually also text them to me and I will answer them here. So I'll stay on for a little while, and otherwise, thank you so much everyone for coming. It's been lovely to do this with you. Cool. Okay, I'm going to send you the information on this, and if there's anything that you want to know from it, you're very welcome to ask. And hopefully you've picked up some good pointers here today. Oh yes, there's a group chat there too if you want to use that. But I will stay for maybe another 5 or so minutes, and you're very welcome to ask questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful weekend, and hopefully catch up with some of you soon.